Hello, you amazing friends, and welcome to our evening, talking evening in Australia, LinkedIn live interview, talking getting fit and healthy with Edwards here and Brad Strydom. How are you tonight, Brad Strydom?
Ed, you fantastic man. Thanks very much for having me once again. I always appreciate our good catch-ups and chats. So I'm excited for tonight with our discussion, talking business fitness and health fitness in terms of your physical body as well.
Oh, and I'm very happy because just on LinkedIn, it's just said that we are going live. So we're streaming right now. If you just come in, a big thank you. If you're watching the recording, you know what to do. Smash that like, share, and comment. So I'm actually on my phone now, and I'm going to be keeping an eye on all your legendary comments. So keep them coming, my legendary friends, and a big welcome. So basically, on this live, if you've got any questions, put them through. If you've got any questions, put them through. We'd love to hear it. Type them in. But we're actually going to talk about this favorite topic. This is one of my big favorite topics, how to get fit and healthy. And you're talking to a guy who's really messed up his health over the years. Like, I've gotten fat, I've been skinny, I've done all the bad things. But we're here with Brad Strydom. And Brad, tell us a bit about your history and everything. I know you're a man of health and fitness. Tell us a bit about your qualifications and your credit in this area, which is totally awesome.
Sure, Ed. So I started my journey probably about a decade ago, probably a little bit longer than that, obviously, in my personal capacity, but probably about a decade ago is when I truly immersed myself in becoming a fitness professional. I worked in the ad industry, decided to leave the ad industry to start a gym, and on the whim, started the gym, and then 8 years later, we sold it. But during that period, we managed to impact a massive amount of people's lives that, some of them went off to go and start their own gyms and their own facilities. So they obviously saw value in what we were doing, so they went off to go and do the same thing themselves. Fast forward, obviously 10 years, I'm now kind of moved out originally from South Africa. We're living in Australia now. I'm now a GM out of a gym, supporting and helping their growth. And then I also work with my own capacity, working with an online health and nutrition program, which over all the years I've taught people how to move. Now I'm teaching really people kind of behind the scenes in terms of changing their diet and their habits as well. So that's kind of my background in terms of the application, in terms of credentials and study, exercise science, master health coach, which I've got qualification in, so behavior change. And a host of certifications, which we've obviously got over the years. Fitness industry is one of those industries where you continuously upskill yourself and get credits for certain things. So it's one of those continuous learning environments. So that's me.
Oh, very great overview. And I just want to say hello to our fans. We've got eClinic watching. We've got Kemi watching on Facebook. We've got a group of you other ones. Just come in, smash that like, share, and comment. Please feel free to say hello and tell us where you're from. If you've got any health questions, pop them in the chat. We'd love to hear it. If you're watching the recording, please get in touch with Brad Strydom. Now, interestingly, and I was saying this before, right? Yes, I'm a LinkedIn business networking guy. That's what I focus on. However, big however, I get asked all the time a lot of health and fitness questions. Like, people say, Ed, how do you stay fit? Bit of context, I've been fit and healthy my whole life, but I've lost about 20 kilos over the past few years, which has been fantastic. We've got Isabel Franklin with us. Isabel Franklin on Facebook. Great seeing you. We love you, Isabel. We've got the whole gang in. But what's interesting is that over the years, that a lot of people have been asking me a lot of health and fitness questions. And again, you're the health and fitness guy, but the things I found for me is health and fitness to me is a bit like using LinkedIn. You gotta think about you just can't go on autopilot. You gotta exercise every day. You gotta watch what you eat. LinkedIn's the same. If you're not posting on LinkedIn, there's nothing happening. Brad, tell me what you think about, again, I'm equating it to LinkedIn as I do most things, but tell me all about health and fitness. How do we as busy professionals stay fit and healthy in this crazy world?
Ed, I absolutely love you. Love that. I love you, and I love that analogy, by the way. I think the comparisons between building a business and working in business is relatively the same as your body. And I think, we highlighted this conversation the other day about how consistency plays a massive part. So like, you are consistent 100% of your time on LinkedIn and across all social channels. And that's what you do. You're phenomenal at that. But I think if people put the same amount of emphasis on their diet and their training and their exercise, they will get phenomenal results in that aspect. So I think there's a lot of comparisons between the two, definitely, without a doubt, for sure.
Well said. And Lindsay Rose, great having you with us. Hello to Lindsay Rose. And I was having this conversation with one of our other friends, and I'll give you some funny context, and I know you'll appreciate this, Brad, because what happened to me is when I put on a lot of weight during lockdown, right, I felt really guilty, even though I've lost the weight and look really good now. I do look really good. I'm so humble. You know, it took me a lot of work to lose that weight, but I felt guilty for a long time. But do you want me to tell you what stopped me feeling guilty, Brad? And I think you'll like where I'm going.
What was that, Ed? Tell me.
Well, I'll give you some context. I live in a very nice part of Sydney. Very honoured to be here. And I live literally 800 metres away from the shop. So if I walk 800 metres up the road, I'm literally at the shops, right?
Yeah.
And I did an experiment, just a simple experiment. Walking from where I live to Woolworths, there's like a Woolworths, which is a shopping centre, like the main supermarket for those around the world. It's one of my top Australian supermarkets. And I did an experiment. I said, I've been just walking to Woolworths, just 800 metres. How many junk food signs or bits of junk food do I see?
For sure.
Just 800 metres, just one. Do you want to? And I actually did a count of how many bits of junk food. I count up everything, right from burgers to gelatis to whatever. Walking 800 metres. I haven't even gone into Woolworths yet. This is not even going into Woolworths.
Yeah.
You want to know how many bits of junk food I counted in just that 800-metre walk?
Tell me.
I stopped counting at 50.
Okay.
So I literally saw just
running the gauntlet.
50 bits of junk food trying to market to me.
Yeah.
I thought, hang on, this is happening 24/7. And I thought, it's not very fair, isn't it? The establishment wants us to be sick and unhealthy, don't they?
I think you're going down a rabbit hole with it, Ed. I could truly believe that is sometimes the thought here. And it's. I think there's a pandemic on our hands here, and our pandemic is junk food culture, obesity, diabetes. There's definitely something there, and it's just far too easy. I think there's people lead sedentary lifestyles, people's careers and jobs are sedentary to some degree. Not everyone, but a lot of people. So it's easy to get sucked into that culture of just consuming convenience food for one, whether it's to the shop and hitting the KFC or something like that. But it's also, I think, just our culture of being sedentary. I mean, shortly before this call, I got on a call with a client who's telling me about their sedentary job where they sit down on their bum the whole day and start early in the morning, finish late in the afternoon. So, trying to find people's time in their diaries to make time for purposeful movement, but also to the other extent of convenience food. I think there's a cascade of issues down the middle between the two.
Yeah, and it's funny, when I did that experiment, I didn't feel too guilty anymore because if you think about it, the game's rigged from the start. Like, there's just non-stop marketing 24/7. Like, I can't walk. If I walk to the shops, I've had 50 bits of junk food bombard me, right? Imagine walking through the supermarket. There must have been at least 100 bits of junk food that have hit my subconscious brain.
Yeah, and if you're hungry, it's a disaster.
Yeah. So my question to you is, yes, there's a global conspiracy that's trying to make us all fit and unhealthy. And I know we're starting to sound like the anti-McDonald's film Super Size Me.
Yeah.
How do we stay strong against all this? That's my big question to you. How do we stay strong against all this junk food that, again, I'm walking 800 metres to the shops. I've had 50 bits of junk food marketed to me. Haven't even walked into the supermarket yet. How do we resist that day in and day out?
There's an old saying, Ed. It says discipline equals freedom. And I think to some degree, yes, discipline is a hard thing for people to grasp sometimes because it's easy to get swayed walking through 50 shops of junk food and walking into a supermarket with lots of offerings. Obviously, it's easier to kind of avoid temptation as opposed to testing your discipline for one. So if it's in your house, you can take care of things that way. But I think, once you get the momentum in terms of your life, once you start to make health your priority and make health your focus, it makes it a lot easier to make the right decisions. We always talk about in kind of our coaching circles about identity change, is that once you start to change the individual you are and the way you see things, you'll start to make smarter choices down the line. And you just become that individual who says, no, I won't be eating that stuff. No, I won't be eating that stuff. And clearly you made those decisions along the way because you avoided going to those 50 outlets.
Yeah. And I like the way you said identity. It's funny how you brought up identity because I was having this conversation with one of my friends today about health. And I actually mentioned, hey, I'm catching up with my friend Brad tonight talking about health. And this is interesting in some of the language I use. So I got really fat during lockdown, but this is what I said, right? I'm not a fat person, so even though towards the end I was quite overweight at the end of lockdown, my thinking was, this is not who I am. I've been a slim health. I'm a veteran. I've been a slim, healthy guy all my life. Even though I'm physically fat, it wasn't consistent with my internal identity, and I think that was it. Because I don't see myself as a fat person. I saw myself as a healthy, fit person that wasn't behaving the way I should. Tell us a bit. In fact, comment before I ask you that. Amanda Tremlett's with us. Amanda Tremlett, we love you. Amanda Tremlett says this. Think about how you feel if you eat the junk food compared to how you felt if you ate an apple. Oh, that's so good. So good, Amanda.
Correct.
But Brad, tell us about identity, how the power of identity and how that works in fitness and health.
Yeah, I think that's a powerful thing, Ed. There's a if you had to think of a circle, right? So you've got your kind of process goals at the front, so kind of things that you need to be doing. You've got your outcome goal, and a lot of people think about the outcome goal as the most important thing here. Now, I want to lose weight, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to look beach ready, whatever it is. And then ultimately down in the middle is this identity change, which is down in the middle. And I think this is the most important part of this process, where someone starts to change their life. And that's the kind of the behavior change stuff where you have to kind of create an identity change within yourself. And I think, we got on a call the other day, we spoke about sales. I'm going to use that as an analogy, if you don't mind, is that, if you're working to develop your sales skills, you can do that process. But when you start to identify as someone like, I want to identify myself as a master salesman, and you focus your clarity on becoming a master salesman. The same comparison. I've got my young man in the room here. Sorry, buddy, you missed. It's all about our identity change, and changing who you actually are. That's the most important thing.
And that brings me to the next question. Lee Newton, great seeing you. If you just come in, like, share, comment, say hello. This brings me to the key question I want to ask you. Here's a little Brad running around. Hello. This is the key question I want to ask you. To anyone watching, now it's easy for you and I to talk because we're fit and healthy. I ran 4 kilometers today. You've been at the gym for no doubt all day, right? So it's easy for us to sit here and say, oh my God, we're so fit and healthy. Aren't we awesome? And I'm not going to do that. So I'm not like that. So I want to ask you this question. What do you say, Brad, to those people watching who are very unhealthy and they're in a rut, like they're eating too much, they're overweight, they feel sick, whatever it is? What do you say to someone who's really in that deep and dark space to get moving and turn things around?
Yeah. And I'm glad you raised that, because that's, those type of individuals, or that individual in that position, are generally people that I truly enjoy working with, because you obviously make a huge amount of impact on that person's life. My thing is that, a lot of people think, they need to have this massive overhaul to their life. And I've seen it time after time, is that when people come in and they think they need to complete everything all at once. They need to fix this, they need to fix that, they need to fix this, like a laundry list of things they need to fix. And a primary example, there's a thing called 75 hard, where you've got to do X amount of things every single day. And most people do that and they fail, and then they don't build any self-efficacy, belief in themselves that they can accomplish the tasks. And then they think they can't do this.
Just jumping in, sorry to interrupt your answer, because it's a great answer. That 75 hard, I've heard about this thing. Tell me, I just want to ask you, can you please tell us what it is? Because someone told it to me and I didn't believe them. I thought, is it really this? It sounds kind of stupid. Tell me what it is.
Yeah, so 75 Hard is essentially a program. I think is Andy Frisella, and it's a program where you've got 75 days to complete a series of tasks, daily tasks. And, it's like 2 workouts per day. You've got to follow a diet. You need to drink X amount of water per day. You need to do this task. You need to do this task. And for a lot of people, and I think for a lot of people, that's a hard challenge for them to do off the bat, to complete all those tasks every single day. So I think for most people that are in the position where they're overweight, they've kind of lost themselves, they're probably maybe a little bit of emotional eating behind the scenes, a lot of stress, there's poor sleep. There's a lot of things that are happening. Sometimes it's just finding the most important thing to change, and change that first. And I'm not talking a 3-week period, or 30 days, or 6 weeks, or 12 months, 12 weeks. I'm talking over a period of time where we start to change our habits. And I always like to work with clients and say, what is the destination that you want to be? Who is this individual that you want to be in the next year? What does that look like? And then we can work backwards. And then we can say, okay, what are the steps we need to take? The small incremental steps we need to take in order for us to move us in that general direction.
Yeah, so I agree with you. That whole set, when I have one of my friends, and interestingly, they're actually a fitness person, and not even she could complete the 75 hard, right? So to me, the 75 hard, to me, it sounds like it's not hard. It sounds stupid, because what it is that two problems I've got with it. I've seen fitness people not be able to achieve it,
Yeah.
right? And the problem that I have is it deliberately sets you up to fail.
It can do. I've seen people fail at it time and time again.
And the problem is, when you fail, it's going to demotivate you. That's the problem that I've got with all this.
Correct. That's why we ultimately try and make this our goal or our intention, our habit, as small as possible. And then, if we complete that, then we can gradually make it harder, and that way we build self-efficacy, which is essentially confidence in our capabilities to complete that task, to move us in that right direction.
Yeah, as I agree with you, because the whole 75 hard thing is a bit like me saying to someone who's just started using LinkedIn, you need to post 10 times a day and message 100 people a day on LinkedIn, and you got to do it now.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's very unreasonable for me to say that, and I would never say that because it's unreasonable.
Yeah.
So you're saying it's not this whole 75 hard thing, it's starting small. And give us an example of some of the small things anyone can do right now to create the change that they want.
Sure. Let's say, for example, their biggest rock that they need to move, for example, is, let's say, sleep. Because sleep can have a massive impact on people's lives. Okay. If you sleep deprived, it's your brain fog the following day. It's, your ability, your intention to eat makes poor choices when it comes to food. Instead of going, all right, I'm going to get to bed at this time every night.
Yeah. 9 a.m., 9 p.m.
There we go. You set a structured thing in place, which is fine. But if someone is simply getting to bed late all the time, all you have to do is just say, why don't we just get to bed 15 minutes earlier? Just 15 minutes earlier. That's all we need to do. And that is, someone can put in their watch just 15 minutes earlier. So if they get to bed normally they get to bed at 10 o'clock, they just get to bed at 9:45. And then they can do that for a week. Once they get good at that and they feel confident they can do that, then we can say, all right, well, what you're capable of doing next? I think I'm capable of taking another 15 minutes off. So we start to work back. Sure, it doesn't happen overnight, but this way we can build some confidence in what we're doing, and we can build a habit around it. So that's an example of sleep. When it comes to food, we can simply focus on doing one kind of food group at a time. So let's say we wanted to focus on, for example, protein. And then we'll just set in a goal for our clients. So listen, how much protein? Most people that come on board eat significant low amounts of protein. So the first rock to move would maybe be to, all right, let's eat protein for breakfast. Let's make sure we always get protein for breakfast. That's week number 1. Week number 2, let's make protein for lunch as well. Week number 3, protein for dinner. And then we can start to build that out as we go along. It doesn't have to happen all at once.
Brilliant. Love your thinking, Brad. You're totally on point. And I got to say, big thank you to our fans watching. Now, Brad, what I'd love to hear from you now is, love to hear from you. Any great chance for you to promote yourself, and I highly recommend Brad Strydom. But Brad, love to hear some closing thoughts from you. And then I'd love to hear about all your programs and what you've got for everyone. So please give us some closing thoughts and tell us about your programs and what you got cooking for us.
Sure, Ed. My closing thoughts is, and I put out a post a little bit earlier on LinkedIn about how health has a significant change in your life. And I think it's important for people to put that as a priority, because that area of your life will significantly impact every other area of your life. So it's important to start taking the steps going forward when you are looking at your health. In terms of programs, I offer 2 things. I offer one-on-one coaching with myself, where essentially I work one-on-one with my clients to help them make the changes that they need from a nutrition and health perspective. We generally call it deep health, so we look at the big picture. So I'm not going to isolate one specific area. We look at the big picture. We look at sleep, stress, our food, exercise. And then I work on a membership basis as well, which we do for an extended period of time. And I work with my clients for anything between 3 months and a year.
Wow. Incredible. And how can people get into contact with you, Brad?
All social media channels, Ed. So via Facebook, via LinkedIn or Instagram, or they can get me on email as well, which will be found via my social media channels.
Brad, you're an amazing man. I've got to say, I love your dedication and work, and you're absolutely amazing. And what tips would you know me pretty well? What tips would you give to me to improve my fitness and health even more?
Well, the one you already do consistently well, Ed, which was the walking. And I know that was something that you made a big thing of doing a few years back, especially post-COVID. If my tips for you, Ed, I would probably focus, and I see you've got a glass of water there with you as well. There we go. And I'm glad you're doing that. I would focus on low-hanging fruits, Ed. And when I say low-hanging fruits, is what is the most important thing or the easiest thing for you to do that will make the biggest amount of impact in your life? And I know you're a busy guy, you're often traveling and you're often flying and so forth. So, focusing on making sure you get the right nutrients in your diet will probably be an important thing. I know you like to have the sweet tooth every now and again, which I appreciate. Yeah, that's all good. That's all good. So yeah, I think that's it. I think obviously focusing on getting enough hydration, getting your sleep in, and making sure that you're getting enough nutrients from your diet.
I like your hydration answers. The problem is I don't drink enough water, and I've learned that when you get dehydrated, that's when you're most likely to do something stupid. Is that a fair remark?
I think it is, because your brain sometimes can't tell the difference between hydration or hunger. So sometimes when you think you're hungry, you're actually dehydrated. So you
Because I've done this experiment. I've had times where I'm absolutely starving, right? And I've deliberately went and had a glass of water. And what I've found is 10 minutes later, I'm not hungry.
Well, there we go. I think if most people put that feather in their hat and they applied that principle, they'd probably avoid eating unnecessary food that they don't need to eat.
There you go. It's funny how you said I've been busy flying. Just before we jumped on, I've just spent over $900 in booking airline tickets. So I was on Virgin Airlines, busy booking all these flights. So there you go. I just spent over $900 in airline tickets. So there you go.
Oh, there we go. Where to next?
Well, so this Friday we got Sydney, which is I'm local, but next Friday I'm off to my beautiful home city of Melbourne, which I'm very excited about.
Lovely. And that's for your meetups, eh?
Yeah, and just so everyone knows, you're based in Adelaide in South Australia, is that right?
That's correct, Ed. That's correct.
And I want to ask you, Brad, what have you got cooking? What do you got cooking over the next year or two? What's your vision for your life and business? Where are you taking things?
Yeah, I love that question, Ed. It's good to have some introspection. I've been working closely with you as well on this. Obviously, one of my main focuses is obviously building my business out for the next year. That's a key area. Obviously, mastering my sales as well. That's my own personal goal within myself. But essentially, building my business. That's an important component, and making sure that it impacts thousands of people. That's ultimately my goal. That's one thing. And on the other side, I've joined a gym as well, which I used to be part of. I've rejoined them, and I'm kind of moving into the operations side of there. So I'm helping and facilitating the growth there within their business as well. So kind of dovetailing two businesses, obviously my own, and then support of building another business as well.
Very cool. Brad, I'm so honored to have you with us. And I just want to say a big thank you. And anyone watching, be you here live, watching, recording, Brad Strydom is a man you can trust in fit and health. Please get in contact with him. Brad, thank you for your time. Really appreciate you. And thank you to our fans for watching.
Thank you, Ed.